Maya Brooks thought she'd buried her past the day Ethan Cole walked out of her life 6 years ago, until she locked eyes with him across a crowded courthouse and watched his world shatter in real time, because standing between her were 2 5-year-old boys with sandy blonde hair and winter sky blue eyes that belonged to only one man. He didn't know they existed. She'd tried to tell him once, but his obsessed assistant made sure those messages never reached him. Now his perfectly polished life, complete with a socialite fiancé and a $1 million reputation, was about to collide with the truth he never knew. He was a father. And what happens next will prove that some loves don't fade. They just wait for the right moment to rewrite everything. Subscribe and comment below if you've ever gotten a second chance you never saw coming, because this story is about to take you on an emotional roller coaster you won't forget. The morning air in downtown Atlanta felt thick and heavy, even inside the marble halls of the Fulton County Courthouse. Ethan Cole stood beside his fiancée, Grace Langford, watching lawyers and families shuffle past like pieces on a chessboard. His charcoal suit fit perfectly, tailored to show success without trying too hard. Everything about Ethan looked controlled, measured, right. Grace adjusted her cream-colored blazer and checked her reflection in her phone screen. "Remember," she said without looking at him, "appearances matter. Judge Patterson notices everything." Ethan nodded, though he wasn't really listening. He'd heard this speech 3 times already this morning. Grace's custody case, her ex-husband fighting for more time with their daughter, should have held his attention. He was here to support her, after all. But his mind kept drifting to the meeting he'd rescheduled, the contract sitting unsigned on his desk, the feeling that something was about to shift. "Are you even listening to me?" Grace's perfectly shaped eyebrows drew together. "Of course," Ethan said automatically. "Appearances. I've got it." She sighed, the kind of sigh that meant she'd circle back to this later. Grace never let things go. It was one of the things that made her successful in business and exhausting in everything else. The courtroom doors opened. People began filing in. Ethan followed Grace toward their assigned seats, his hand resting briefly on her lower back, the gesture she expected. They settled into the 3rd row. Grace smoothed her skirt. Ethan loosened his tie just slightly. Then the air changed. Ethan felt it before he saw anything, a shift in the room's energy, like the moment before thunder breaks. He glanced toward the entrance. A woman walked in, holding the hands of 2 small boys. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The woman was beautiful in a way that made everything else in the room fade out. She wore a simple navy dress that hugged her curves modestly, her natural hair pulled back in a low bun. Her brown skin seemed to glow under the fluorescent lights. She moved with quiet confidence, her attention focused entirely on the 2 boys at her sides. But it was the boys who made Ethan's heart stop. Twin boys, maybe 5 years old, with sandy blonde hair and bright, curious eyes. They looked around the courtroom with the fearless wonder only children possess. One of them pointed at the judge's empty bench. The other tugged his mother's hand, whispering something that made her smile. That smile. Ethan knew that smile. He'd memorized it 6 years ago, traced it with his fingers, dreamed about it long after he thought he'd forgotten. Maya. His hands gripped the armrests of his seat. The courtroom suddenly felt too small, the air too thin. "Ethan!" Grace's voice sounded far away. "What's wrong?" He couldn't answer, couldn't move, couldn't do anything but stare as Maya Brooks guided her sons to a seat across the aisle 3 rows ahead. She settled between them, pulling coloring books from her bag with practiced ease. The boys immediately bent over their pages, already absorbed. One of the twins looked up, scanning the room with idle curiosity. His eyes, pale blue startling against his brown skin, landed on Ethan. Ethan felt the world tilt. Those were his eyes, his exact eyes, the same unusual shade his mother always called winter sky blue, rare in the Cole family, but unmistakable when you saw them. The boy held his gaze for a moment, innocent and unknowing, then returned to his coloring book. "Ethan." Grace's hand closed on his arm, her perfectly manicured nails pressing into his sleeve. "You're being weird." "What's going on?" "Nothing," he managed. His voice sounded like someone else's. "I'm fine." But he wasn't fine. His mind raced, counting backward. 6 years since he'd seen Maya. 6 years since the misunderstanding that ended everything. 6 years since she'd stopped answering his calls and disappeared from his life completely. The twins looked about 5 years old. No, it couldn't be. But even as he tried to deny it, his eyes found the boys again, the shape of their faces, the way one of them tilted his head while concentrating, the stubborn set of their small jaws. He'd seen those exact expressions in his own childhood photos. "All rise," the bailiff announced. Everyone stood. Ethan rose automatically, his body moving without conscious thought. Judge Patterson entered, a woman in her 50s with steel-grey hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see through walls. She took her seat at the bench, and everyone else followed. Grace's case was called first. Her lawyer stood, launching into prepared remarks about parenting time and her client's devotion to her daughter. Ethan should have been listening. He'd promised to be here, to pay attention, to care. Instead, he watched Maya. She sat perfectly still, her posture straight but not rigid. One hand rested on each boy's back, a gentle, protective touch. When one twin dropped his crayon, she picked it up without looking, passing it back to him seamlessly. The kind of instinctive gesture that came from years of practice, years Ethan had missed, if they're mine. He didn't know for sure. He couldn't know. But his gut, the same instinct that had built his real estate empire from nothing, told him the truth his mind wasn't ready to accept. Those boys were his sons. "Mr. Cole," Grace's whisper was sharp. "Stop staring." He forced his eyes forward, but it didn't matter. The image was burned into his brain now. Two little boys with his eyes and Maya's beautiful brown skin, coloring pictures in a courtroom, while his entire life came apart at the seams. Time moved strangely after that. Grace's lawyer talked. The ex-husband's lawyer responded. Judge Patterson asked questions in her measured, thoughtful way. Ethan heard none of it. His mind spun through memories he'd locked away. Maya in his apartment, laughing at something stupid he'd said. Maya curled against him on Sunday mornings, her hair tickling his chest. Maya's voice on his answering machine. "Ethan, please, we need to talk. It's important. Please call me back." He'd never gotten those messages. His assistant at the time, Jennifer, had accidentally deleted them. He'd found out months later after Maya was already gone. Jennifer had been obsessed with him, convinced they were meant to be together. She'd intercepted Maya's calls, blocked her emails, created a wall between them until Maya stopped trying. By the time Ethan realized what happened and tried to find Maya, she'd moved, changed her number, vanished like smoke. He'd told himself she wanted nothing to do with him, that the love he thought they'd shared was one-sided, that he needed to move on. He'd never imagined this. A sharp sound jolted him back to the present. Someone had dropped something. Ethan looked down and saw a red crayon rolling across the floor, stopping near his feet. Without thinking, he bent to pick it up. At the same moment, one of the twins scrambled after it. Their hands touched. The boy looked up at him, and Ethan looked back. For a frozen moment, they were eye to eye. The child's expression was open, friendly, curious. No recognition, no understanding of the earthquake happening in Ethan's chest. "Thank you," the boy said politely, taking the crayon. "You're welcome," Ethan whispered. The boy scampered back to his mother. Maya glanced over her shoulder, probably wondering where her son had gone. Her eyes met Ethan's. Everything stopped. He watched the recognition hit her, watched her face go very still, her lips parting slightly. Her hand instinctively pulled her son's closer. For 3 heartbeats, they just stared at each other across the aisle and the years. Then Maya turned away, her shoulders rigid, and focused firmly on her coloring boys. "Who is she?" Grace's whisper was ice cold. "No one," Ethan said. The lie tasted like ash. "Just someone I used to know." "You're a terrible liar." Grace's jaw tightened. "We'll talk about this later." The hearing dragged on. Judge Patterson ruled in Grace's favor, mostly. The ex-husband got an extra weekend per month, but Grace maintained primary custody. She should have been pleased. Instead, as everyone filed out of the courtroom, she gripped Ethan's arm hard enough to hurt. "Stay close," she commanded. "We're leaving together." But Ethan's eyes tracked Maya as she gathered her things, helping the boys pack their coloring books. She moved quickly, efficiently, like someone trying to escape. He couldn't let her leave. Not again. Not without answers. "I need to make a phone call," Ethan said. "I'll meet you outside." "Ethan, 5 minutes." He pulled away before Grace could protest further and headed for the doors Maya had just exited through. The hallway outside the courtroom was chaos. Lawyers negotiating, families arguing, children crying. Ethan scanned the crowd and spotted Maya near the elevator, her sons at her sides. She pressed the button repeatedly, her jaw set. "Maya!" She froze, didn't turn around. Ethan walked closer, his heart hammering. "Maya, please." The elevator doors opened. Maya ushered the boys inside, then finally looked at him. Her expression was carefully blank, but her eyes, God, her eyes held so much pain, It nearly knocked him backward. "We have nothing to talk about," she said quietly. "I think we do." He gestured toward the twins, who were now pressing all the elevator buttons with gleeful abandon. "Are they—" "Go back to your fiancé, Ethan." Maya's voice was steady, but he heard the tremor underneath. "She's probably wondering where you went." "Maya, you have eyes," she said. The words landed like stones. "You can see for yourself." The elevator doors started to close. Ethan shot his hand out, stopping them. "How old are they?" Maya's composure cracked just for a second. Her eyes glistened, but she blinked it away, straightening her spine. "5, she said. "They just turned 5. The doors closed. Ethan stood frozen in the hallway, staring at his reflection in the polished metal. 5 years old. The timeline fit perfectly. The last night he and Maya had spent together before everything fell apart. A lawyer bumped past him, muttering an apology. The normal world continued around him while his own world shattered and reformed into something unrecognizable. He had sons, 2 sons, and Maya had raised them alone for 5 years. "There you are." Grace appeared at his elbow, her phone pressed to her ear. She mouthed 1 minute at him and continued her conversation. Something about lunch reservations and a spa appointment. Ethan looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in months. Grace was beautiful in a hard, polished way. She wore her success like armor, and she expected him to do the same. They made sense on paper. 2 ambitious people building empires, their engagement had been more merger than romance. He'd convinced himself that was enough. But standing there, watching Grace negotiate her afternoon while his entire world imploded, Ethan realized he'd been lying to himself for a very long time. "Ready?" Grace ended her call and slipped her phone into her purse. "We need to talk about that woman." "Not now," Ethan said. Her eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" "I said not now, Grace." His voice came out harder than he intended. "I need to think." "About what? Some random woman from your past shows up with kids and suddenly you're being weird." She stopped abruptly, her expression shifting. "Oh my God, are those your kids?" Ethan didn't answer. Couldn't answer. The truth was too new, too huge. Grace's laugh was brittle. "That's ridiculous. You would have told me. You wouldn't keep something like that from me." "I didn't know," he said quietly. "You didn't?" Grace stared at him. "You're serious." "I need to go." Ethan started walking toward the exit, his mind already spinning ahead. He needed information, confirmation. He needed to understand how this had happened and why Maya had never told him. "Ethan Cole, if you walk away from me right now—" He kept walking. Behind him, Grace's voice rose with indignation, but he was already through the doors and into the Atlanta sunshine. The heat hit him like a wall, but he barely felt it. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in years. "Marcus, it's Ethan. I need a favor." Marcus Chen was the best private investigator Ethan knew. Discreet, thorough, ethical. They'd gone to college together, back before Ethan had money and Marcus had a career. "Name it," Marcus said. "What do you need?" "I need you to find someone." Ethan's hand shook as he scrolled through his old contacts, looking for the photo he'd kept, despite telling himself to delete it. "Her name is Maya Brooks. Early 30s, social worker, probably still in Atlanta." "Okay." The sound of typing came through the phone. "What am I looking for?" "Everything," Ethan said. "Where she lives, where she works, her phone number. I need it by tonight." "Ethan, man, you sound stressed. What's going on?" "Just find her, Marcus, please." A pause, then, "I'm on it. I'll call you in a few hours." Ethan ended the call and stood on the courthouse steps, watching people come and go. Somewhere in this city, Maya was taking those boys, his boys, home. Reading them stories, making them dinner, tucking them into bed, living a whole life he knew nothing about. His phone buzzed. "Grace, we need to talk. Now." He turned the phone off. For the first time in 6 years, Ethan Cole had no idea what happened next. His carefully constructed life, the business, the engagement, the image he'd built, suddenly felt like a house of cards in a strong wind. But underneath the shock and confusion, something else stirred. Something he'd buried so deep he'd almost forgotten it existed. Hope. Maya was here. She was real. And despite everything, the years apart, the secrets, the pain, she was still the same woman he'd fallen in love with. He'd seen it in her eyes, in the way she touched her sons, in the quiet strength that had always drawn him to her. Ethan pulled out his phone and looked at the old photo he'd kept. Maya, laughing at the camera, her head thrown back, joy radiating from every pixel. He'd taken it on their last good day together, before everything went wrong. "I'll fix this," he said to the photo. "I don't know how, but I will." The Atlanta sun beat down on his shoulders. Traffic hummed in the distance, and Ethan Cole, who'd spent 6 years convinced he'd moved on, realized he'd never let Maya Brooks go at all. He just hadn't known it until today. Evening came slowly, painting Ethan's downtown condo in shades of orange and gold. He'd ignored 7 calls from Grace, 3 from his business partner, and 1 from his father. Instead, he sat on his leather couch, staring at his college yearbook. There, page 47, a photo from the spring formal. Ethan in a cheap rented tux, his arm around Maya in a thrift store dress that somehow looked like it cost $1 million. They were both so young, so ridiculously happy. He'd been 24. She'd been 21. They'd believed love was simple, that their different backgrounds, his money, her lack of it, didn't matter, that his parents' disapproval and her fierce independence were just obstacles to overcome together. They'd been wrong. His phone rang. "Marcus." "Tell me," Ethan said by way of greeting. "Maya Brooks," Marcus began, and Ethan heard paper rustling. 30 years old, works as a social worker for Fulton County Family Services, lives in a modest 2-bedroom apartment in East Atlanta. Single mother to twin boys, Noah and Liam Brooks. Both boys are 5 years old, born June 15th. June 15th. Ethan closed his eyes. Doing the math he'd already done 100 times. 9 months before that would be September, the month he and Maya had broken up, the month everything fell apart. "Anything else?" His voice sounded hollow. "She's well liked at work," Marcus continued. "Good reputation, active in her church, volunteers at the boys' school. By all accounts, she's doing a great job raising those kids alone." A pause. "Ethan, do you want to tell me what this is about?" "Not yet," Ethan said. "Send me her address." "Already in your email." "And, Ethan, whatever this is, be careful. That woman's been through enough without—" "I know," Ethan interrupted. "Thanks, Marcus." He ended the call and opened his email. Maya's address stared back at him from the screen. She lived 20 minutes away. For 5 years, she'd been 20 minutes away, raising his children. Why hadn't she told him? The question burned, but even as he asked it, he knew the answer. She had tried to tell him. She'd called, emailed, reached out in every way she knew how, and his obsessed assistant had made sure those messages never reached him. By the time Ethan figured out what Jennifer had done and tried to find Maya, too much time had passed. Maya probably thought he'd ignored her deliberately, thought he'd abandoned her when she needed him most. The thought made him sick. His phone rang again. This time he answered. "Don't hang up," Grace said immediately. "We need to talk about what happened today." "Grace, are those children yours?" Ethan hesitated. He didn't owe Grace an explanation, but he also didn't want to be cruel. Whatever else happened, she deserved honesty. "I think so," he said. "I'm not sure yet." "You think so?" Her voice pitched higher. "Ethan, this is insane. Some woman from your past shows up with twins, and you're just going to accept that they're yours. The timeline fits, and you saw them, Grace. You saw their eyes. Silence stretched between them. When Grace spoke again, her voice was colder. "So what now? You're going to play happy family with your ex-girlfriend and her kids." "They're not just her kids," Ethan said quietly. "If they're mine, and I think they are, then they're my sons." "God." Grace laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I knew you had baggage, but this is ridiculous. Do you have any idea what this will do to your reputation? To our reputation? I don't care about my reputation." "Well, you should. We're supposed to be partners, Ethan. Equals. But you're acting like a lovesick teenager over some—" "Don't." His voice went hard. "Don't finish that sentence." Another silence. Longer this time. "I see," Grace said finally. "You're still in love with her." "Grace." "It's fine." Her voice was brittle, controlled. "We both know this engagement was more business than romance anyway. I'll have my assistant return the ring tomorrow." "Wait." But the line was already dead. Ethan sat in the gathering darkness, still holding the phone. His engagement had just ended. He should feel something, regret, relief, guilt. Instead, he felt nothing but a fierce, burning need to see Maya again, to know the truth, to understand how his life had changed so completely in the space of a single morning. He looked at his watch. 8:30. Too late to show up at Maya's apartment unannounced. But tomorrow, he would get answers. Ethan stood and walked to the window. Atlanta spread out before him, millions of lights in the darkness. Somewhere out there, Maya was putting 2 little boys to bed, his boys. The thought terrified and thrilled him in equal measure. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the city, to Maya, to the sons he'd never known. I'm so sorry, but I'm here now. And this time nothing, not pride, not fear, not the weight of the past would make him walk away. Maya stood at her kitchen sink, washing the dinner dishes while her mother, Carla Brooks, dried them with a faded blue towel. The boys were finally asleep after an extra-long bedtime routine that included 3 stories, 2 glasses of water, and a lengthy negotiation about whether monsters could hide in the closet. They couldn't, Maya had assured them, because monsters were allergic to nightlights. "You're quiet tonight," Carla said, setting a plate in the dish rack. "Quieter than usual." Maya scrubbed at a stubborn spot of dried pasta sauce. "Just tired." Her mother's tone said she didn't believe that for a second. "Does this tiredness have anything to do with why you checked your phone 15 times during dinner?" "I did not." "Baby girl." Carla's hand covered Maya's, stopping the aggressive scrubbing. "Talk to me." Maya set down the sponge and dried her hands. Through the small kitchen window, she could see their neighbors' windows glowing warm across the courtyard. Normal people living normal lives, probably not dealing with the reappearance of ghosts from their past. "I saw Ethan today," she said quietly. Her mother went very still. "Ethan Cole, the one and only." "Where?" "Courthouse. He was there with his fiancée." Maya picked up another plate, needing something to do with her hands. "He saw the boys, Mama. He looked right at them, and I saw the moment he figured it out." Carla let out a long breath. She pulled out one of the mismatched chairs at Maya's small kitchen table and sat down heavily. After all this time, 5 years. Maya joined her mother at the table, suddenly exhausted. 5 years of silence, and then boom. There he is, looking at Noah and Liam like he's seeing ghosts. "What did he say?" "Not much, we were in court, but he followed me to the elevator, asked how old they are." Maya's throat tightened. "He knows, Mama." I could see it in his eyes. Carla reached across the table and squeezed her daughter's hand. "And how do you feel about that?" It was such a simple question. Maya wished she had a simple answer. "Scared," she admitted. "Angry, relieved, confused." She laughed without humor. "Pretty much everything at once." "Are you angry at him for not being there?" "I tried to tell him." Maya's voice rose slightly. Then she caught herself and lowered it, remembering the boys sleeping down the hall. "I called, I emailed, I even went to his office. That woman, his assistant, she told me he didn't want to hear from me, that he'd moved on, and I should do the same. I remember." Carla's expression darkened. "I wanted to drive over there and give that boy a piece of my mind. But he never got those messages." Maya had tortured herself with this knowledge for years. "When I finally gave up and moved on, he tried to find me, but I'd already changed my number, moved apartments. I was protecting myself, protecting the babies." "You did what you had to do." "Did I?" Maya looked at her mother with tired eyes. "Sometimes I wonder if I should have tried harder. If I should have—" "Stop!" Carla's voice was firm. "You tried everything reasonable. You reached out, and you were turned away. You can't blame yourself for that." Maya knew her mother was right. Logically, she understood that she'd done her best in an impossible situation. But late at night, when the boys asked questions about their father, guilt still gnawed at her. "What are you going to do now?" Carla asked. "I don't know." Maya traced patterns on the worn wooden table. "Part of me wants to keep running, move again, change our names." She laughed at the absurdity of it. "But another part, the boys deserve to know their father," Maya said softly. "I've always believed that. I told myself that one day, when they were old enough to understand, I'd try to find him, let them meet him." She looked up at her mother. "I just didn't think it would happen like this." Carla studied her daughter's face. "And what about you? What do you want?" The question hung in the air between them. Maya thought about Ethan standing in that courthouse hallway, his expensive suit rumpled, his carefully controlled expression cracking with shock and something that looked like grief. She thought about the boy she'd loved at 21, idealistic, passionate, convinced their love could overcome anything. He wasn't that boy anymore. She wasn't that girl. But looking into his eyes today, she'd felt something shift, something she'd buried deep and tried to forget. "I want my sons to know their father," Maya said carefully. "If he's serious about being in their lives, if he's ready to actually show up, then yes, I want that for them." "And for yourself?" Maya stood, suddenly needing to move. She walked to the window and looked out at the quiet courtyard. "I stopped wanting things for myself a long time ago, Mama. When you're raising twins alone, working full-time, just trying to survive, there's no energy left for wanting. That's not an answer." "It's the only answer I have right now." They were both quiet for a moment. Outside, a couple walked past hand in hand, laughing about something. Maya felt a pang of longing so sharp it hurt. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Both women looked at it. "You should check that," Carla said. Maya picked up the phone, her heart hammering. "Unknown number. This is Ethan. I got your number from a friend. Can we talk?" "Please." She stared at the screen. Her mother came to stand beside her, reading over her shoulder. "That was fast," Carla murmured. Maya's fingers hovered over the keyboard. She could ignore this, block the number, pretend today never happened, but that would be running away again, and she was tired of running. "Tomorrow, 2 p.m. There's a coffee shop on Ponce near my work, Grounds and Sounds. Come alone." She hit send before she could overthink it. The response came almost immediately. "I'll be there. Thank you, Maya." She set the phone down, her hands shaking slightly. "You're doing the right thing," Carla said. "Am I?" Maya turned to her mother. "What if he disappoints them? What if he gets their hopes up and then disappears? What if he's a good father?" Carla interrupted gently. "What if he's grown up in the last 5 years, just like you have? What if this is the chance all three of you need?" Maya wanted to believe that. God, she wanted to believe it so badly. "Come on." Carla steered her toward the living room couch. "Sit down, I'm making you tea, and we're watching something mindless on TV until you stop overthinking." "I don't overthink." "Baby girl, you've been overthinking since you were 6 years old." Carla kissed the top of her head. "It's one of your best and worst qualities." Despite everything, Maya smiled. Her mother always knew how to ground her, how to make the impossible feel manageable. As Carla bustled in the kitchen, Maya pulled a worn photo album from the shelf beneath her coffee table. She opened it to the middle, where a single photograph was tucked between the pages. Ethan, 24 years old, grinning at the camera with his arms around her. They were at Stone Mountain, having hiked to the top despite the summer heat. She remembered that day so clearly, the weight of his hand in hers, the way he'd kissed her at the summit, the promise he'd made that they'd always find their way back to each other. She'd believed him then. Could she believe him now? The next afternoon, Maya arrived at Grounds and Sounds 15 minutes early. It was a small coffee shop tucked between a vintage record store and a yoga studio, the kind of place that served overpriced lattes and had mismatched furniture that was somehow perfectly coordinated. She'd chosen it deliberately, neutral territory, close enough to her office that she could claim a work emergency if she needed an escape. She ordered a chamomile tea she didn't really want and sat at a corner table where she could see the door. Her stomach was in knots. She'd changed outfits 3 times that morning, finally settling on dark jeans and a simple green blouse. Professional but casual, put together but not trying too hard. Who was she kidding? She was trying very hard. At exactly 2 o'clock, Ethan walked through the door. He looked different than he had yesterday in court. The expensive suit was gone, replaced by dark jeans and a plain white button-down with the sleeves rolled up. His dark hair was slightly messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked tired, uncertain, human. Their eyes met across the coffee shop. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Ethan walked toward her, and Maya's heart started racing like she was 21 again. "Hi," he said when he reached her table. "Hi, can I sit?" She nodded, not trusting her voice. He sat across from her, his hands clasped on the table between them. She noticed he wasn't wearing the expensive watch he used to love. His hands looked older somehow, capable. A man's hands, not a boy's. "Thank you for meeting me," Ethan said. "I almost didn't. I'm glad you did." He took a breath. "Maya, I don't even know where to start. How about the truth?" Maya wrapped her hands around her tea mug, needing something to anchor her. "Are you really going to sit there and tell me you didn't know? That you just forgot about me? I tried to find you." His voice was rough. "After I found out what Jennifer did, your assistant, she was obsessed with me. I didn't see it. I should have, but I didn't." Ethan's jaw tightened. "She deleted your messages, blocked your emails, told you I didn't want to see you, all while telling me you'd moved on and wanted nothing to do with me." Maya had heard this explanation before, pieced it together from her own research years ago. But hearing it from him, seeing the pain in his eyes, made it real in a way it hadn't been. "I tried calling you," he continued. "Must have been 3, 4 months after we broke up. I finally realized something was wrong. But your number was disconnected. Your apartment, you'd moved. I hired a private investigator, but you'd covered your tracks well. I was protecting myself," Maya said quietly. "And I was pregnant. Alone and pregnant, and I thought the man I loved had thrown me away like garbage." Ethan flinched. "Maya, do you know what that feels like?" Her voice cracked despite her best efforts. "Finding out you're having twins when you're barely making rent, Knowing you're going to do this alone, thinking the person you trusted most in the world just didn't care? I'm sorry. The words seemed inadequate, and Ethan seemed to know it. I'm so sorry. If I could go back, if I could change it, but you can't. Maya set down her mug before she crushed it. You can't change the last 5 years. You can't change the nights I cried myself to sleep, wondering how I'd afford diapers and rent. You can't change the first time Noah asked why he didn't have a daddy, or the way Liam draws pictures of families with a blank space where you should be. Tears burned her eyes. She blinked them back furiously. She'd promised herself she wouldn't cry. You're right, Ethan said. I can't change any of that, but I'm here now. I want to be part of their lives if you'll let me. It's not about what I'll let you do, Ethan. It's about what's best for them. Maya met his gaze steadily. I won't let you waltz in here, play dad for a few weeks, and then disappear when it gets hard. They deserve better than that. I know. Do you? She leaned forward. Because being a parent isn't about showing up when it's convenient. It's about midnight fevers and terrible 2s times 2. It's about scraped knees and homework struggles and feeling like you're failing every single day. It's exhausting and thankless and terrifying. Then teach me, Ethan said quietly. I know I missed 5 years. I know I can never get that time back, but I'm here now, Maya. I want to learn. I want to be their father. Something in his voice made her pause. There was no arrogance there, no assumption that his money or his apologies would smooth everything over. Just raw, honest desperation. Why now? She asked. You could have walked away, pretended you never saw us. Because the moment I saw those boys, everything else in my life stopped mattering. Ethan's hands trembled slightly. I looked at them and it was like someone turned on a light I didn't know was off. I have sons. Actual sons. How could I walk away from that? Maya studied his face, looking for any sign of deception, but all she saw was the boy she'd once loved, older now and scarred by life, but still fundamentally him. I need proof, she said finally. What? DNA test. I need legal proof that they're yours before we go any further. She expected him to be offended, but Ethan just nodded. Of course, whatever you need. And if the test confirms it, when it confirms it, we do this my way. Maya's voice was steady now. Slow, supervised at first. No grand gestures, no overwhelming them. They're 5 years old, Ethan. They don't understand complicated adult relationships. All they know is that suddenly there's a man claiming to be their father. I'll do whatever you think is best. And if at any point I think you're hurting them, emotionally, I mean, this stops, immediately. Understood. They sat in silence for a moment. The coffee shop hummed with afternoon activity around them, students typing on laptops, friends catching up over espresso, the hiss of the milk steamer. Normal life, continuing as always. What happened to your fiancé? Maya asked suddenly. Ethan's expression shifted. We broke up last night. Because of this? Partly. He rubbed the back of his neck. Mostly because I realized I was marrying her for all the wrong reasons. We made sense on paper, but there was no... He trailed off. Love? Maya supplied. Yeah, no love. He looked at her directly. Not like what we had. Maya's breath caught. Ethan, don't. Don't what? Don't romanticize the past. We were kids. We didn't know what we were doing. I knew I loved you, he said quietly. I knew that every day with you was better than any day without you. I knew that when I thought I lost you, it felt like losing part of myself. He paused. Did you feel that way? Maya wanted to lie, wanted to protect herself from the vulnerability of admitting the truth, but she was tired of lying. Yes, she whispered. I felt that way. And now? Now I have 2 boys who are everything to me. I don't have the luxury of thinking about what I lost or what might have been. She straightened her shoulders. Right now I have to think about them. Only them. Ethan nodded slowly. Then that's what we'll do. Whatever's best for Noah and Liam. Hearing him say their names sent a strange feeling through Maya's chest. She'd chosen those names alone, lying in a hospital bed, holding 2 tiny babies, and trying not to fall apart. She'd never imagined she'd hear Ethan speak them. I'll set up the DNA test, she said, pulling herself together. There's a lab near my office. We can get it done this week. Thank you. Ethan pulled out his phone. Can I have your number? Your real number, not just texting through Marcus? Marcus, my friend, the investigator. He's the one who found you. Of course. Maya should have known Ethan would have resources she couldn't match. She rattled off her number, and Ethan saved it immediately. I won't abuse this, he promised. I won't bombard you with texts or show up unannounced. I need to be able to reach you. In case there's news about the boys, or if you change your mind about meeting. I won't change my mind. Maya stood, needing to end this before the emotions swirling in her chest overwhelmed her completely. But I need time to prepare them, to figure out how to explain this in a way that makes sense. Ethan stood too. Of course, whatever you need. They stood awkwardly, neither quite sure how to end this. A hug would be too much, a handshake too formal. In the end, Maya just nodded and turned toward the door. Maya? She stopped but didn't turn around. I really am sorry, Ethan said. For all of it. And I know sorry isn't enough, but it's all I have right now. Maya's throat tightened. Sorry is a start, she said quietly. Then she walked out into the Atlanta afternoon, leaving Ethan standing alone in the coffee shop. 3 days later, Maya sat in Dr. Rodriguez's office, waiting for the DNA test results. Ethan sat beside her, not quite close enough to touch, but near enough that she could feel his presence like static electricity. They'd barely spoken since the coffee shop, a few practical texts about scheduling the test, about meeting times. Nothing personal, nothing that acknowledged the years between them or the way her heart still stuttered when she saw his name on her phone. Dr. Rodriguez entered, a manila folder in her hands and a kind expression on her face. She was a middle-aged woman with grey-streaked hair and the calm demeanor of someone who'd delivered difficult news countless times. Thank you both for coming in, she said, sitting behind her desk. I have your results. Maya's hands clenched in her lap. Beside her, Ethan had gone very still. The DNA sample from Noah Brooks shows a 99.9% probability of paternity with Ethan Cole, Dr. Rodriguez said. She looked between them. Mr. Cole, you are almost certainly Noah's biological father, and given that the boys are twins, it's safe to assume the same is true for Liam. Maya had known. Of course she'd known, but hearing it confirmed in clinical terms made it real in a way it hadn't been before. Thank you, Ethan said. His voice sounded strange. Can I have a copy of that report? Of course. Dr. Rodriguez printed out several copies and handed them over. If you need anything else, counseling referrals, legal advice, my office can provide resources. They left the office in silence. Outside, the sun was bright and warm, completely at odds with the storm of emotions inside Maya. So, Ethan said when they reached the parking lot, it's official. It was always official. Maya clutched her copy of the report. This is just paperwork. Important paperwork. He looked at her. What now? Maya took a deep breath. She'd been thinking about this for 3 days, weighing options, imagining scenarios. Now you meet them, she said. Properly. Not in a courthouse, not in secret. I'm going to tell them that you're their father, and then we're going to introduce you slowly. Brief meetings, supervised by me, until they're comfortable. When? This weekend. Maya's heart pounded. Saturday morning. You can come to our apartment. We'll have breakfast together. The boys love pancakes. Ethan's expression cracked, revealing something raw and hopeful. I'd like that, very much. But Ethan, Maya caught his arm before he could walk away. I need you to understand something. This isn't about us. Whatever we were, whatever we might have been, that's not what this is about. This is about Noah and Liam having a father. I understand. Do you? Because I see the way you look at me sometimes, and I need you to know that I'm not that girl anymore. I can't be. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful. You're right. You're not that girl. You're stronger now. Braver. You built a life for yourself and our sons with no help from anyone. You're amazing, Maya. She pulled her hand back, her heart racing. Don't do that. Don't tell the truth. Don't make this harder than it already is. She stepped back. Saturday, 9 in the morning. Don't be late. She walked to her car before he could respond, before the tears threatening to spill could actually fall. She'd cried enough over Ethan Cole. She wouldn't cry anymore. But as she drove home, she allowed herself one moment of weakness, one moment to remember what it felt like to be loved by him, one moment to wonder if, despite everything, some part of that boy she'd loved still existed in the man he'd become. Then she squared her shoulders and drove toward home, toward her boys, toward the complicated future that was barreling toward them all, whether they were ready or not. Saturday morning came too quickly and too slowly at the same time. Maya woke up at 6, even though her alarm wasn't set until 7. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet sounds of her apartment building waking up. Footsteps above her, a door closing down the hall, the distant hum of traffic. In 3 hours, Ethan would knock on her door and everything would change. She told the boys last night after dinner and baths, when they were in their matching pajamas and full of that wired pre-bedtime energy. They'd been building a tower with blocks, competing to see who could make it taller. "Boys," she'd said, sitting on the floor between them, "I need to talk to you about something important." They'd both looked at her with those pale blue eyes, Ethan's eyes, and she'd nearly lost her nerve. "You know how some of your friends at school have daddies?" she'd started. Noah had nodded solemnly. Liam had added another block to his tower, listening but not looking at her. "Well, you have a daddy too. He just didn't know about you for a long time." "Why not?" Noah had asked immediately. He was the questioner, always wanting to understand the logic of things. "It's complicated, baby. Grown-up stuff. But the important thing is that he knows now, and he wants to meet you. Tomorrow." Liam had looked up then, interested. "Tomorrow he's coming for breakfast." "What's his name?" Noah had asked. "Ethan. His name is Ethan." They'd processed this in the way children do, accepting it as simply another fact about the world. No more strange than learning that bears hibernate, or that the moon controls the tides. Noah had asked 3 more questions about logistics. What does he look like? Does he like dinosaurs? Can he help build our tower? Liam had asked if they could make chocolate chip pancakes. Then they'd gone to bed, apparently unbothered, while Maya had lain awake half the night, her mind spinning with worst-case scenarios. Now, at 6 in the morning, she forced herself out of bed. If she was going to do this, she needed to be ready. She showered, taking longer than necessary, letting the hot water ease some of the tension from her shoulders. She dressed carefully, jeans and a soft blue sweater, casual but put together. She left her hair natural, the way it wanted to fall. No makeup beyond mascara and lip gloss. This wasn't a date, this was just breakfast. Just breakfast with the father her sons had never met. By 7:30, she had coffee brewing and was mixing pancake batter. The boys tumbled out of their shared bedroom at 8, already arguing about who got to use the special dinosaur plate. "We have 3 dinosaur plates," Maya reminded them. "And we have a guest coming, remember?" "The daddy," Liam said matter-of-factly, climbing onto his chair. "His name is Ethan," Maya corrected gently. "You can call him Ethan until you feel comfortable calling him something else." "Okay." Liam seemed unconcerned. "Can we have chocolate chips?" "Yes, baby. Chocolate chips for everyone." The next half hour passed in the comfortable chaos of Saturday morning. The boys helped with breakfast, which meant they mostly ate chocolate chips and got flour on their pajamas. Maya let them. She needed the distraction, needed to focus on their joy instead of her own anxiety. At 8:55, she sent them to get dressed. "Something nice but comfortable. And brush your teeth," they thundered down the hall. Maya stood in her small kitchen, looking around at the apartment she'd worked so hard to make into a home. It wasn't much, mismatched furniture from thrift stores, toys overflowing their baskets, crayon drawings taped to the walls, but it was theirs. What would Ethan think of it? Would he judge her for the worn carpet, the second-hand couch, the fact that the boys shared a bedroom because she couldn't afford a 3-bedroom place? She shook her head, angry at herself. She'd built a good life for her sons. She had nothing to be ashamed of. At exactly 9 o'clock, there was a knock at the door. Maya's heart jumped into her throat. She wiped her hands on her jeans and walked to the door, taking one deep breath before opening it. Ethan stood in the hallway, holding a bag that looked suspiciously like it came from a toy store. He'd dressed down, jeans and a dark blue Henley, but he still looked expensive somehow. The watch on his wrist probably cost more than her monthly rent. "Hi," he said. He looked terrified. Somehow that made Maya feel better. "Hi, come in." He stepped inside, and she watched him take in her apartment. His expression didn't change, but she saw his eyes linger on the photos covering one wall, the boys at every age, from tiny newborns to now, a visual timeline of everything he'd missed. "I brought something," Ethan said, holding up the bag. "I wasn't sure what they like, so I got some things. Is that okay?" "Let me see first." He handed over the bag. Maya looked inside and found age-appropriate books, 2 stuffed animals, a lion and a bear, and a wooden puzzle. Nothing flashy, nothing overwhelming. Relief flooded through her. "This is good," she said. "Thank you. I can take the tags off. Later. Let's have breakfast first. Let them get used to you." Ethan nodded, setting the bag by the door. He looked around again, and Maya could see him cataloguing details. The boys' artwork, the small bookshelf overflowing with picture books, the kitchen table set for 4. "Nice place," he said. "You don't have to lie." "I'm not." He met her eyes. "It feels like a home. That's more than I can say for my condo." Before Maya could respond, 2 small tornadoes burst out of the hallway. Noah and Liam skidded to a stop when they saw Ethan, suddenly shy. They pressed against Maya's legs, peering up at the tall stranger. "Boys," Maya said softly, putting a hand on each of their heads. "This is Ethan. Remember we talked about him?" "The daddy," Liam whispered. Ethan's expression cracked. He crouched down, bringing himself to their eye level. "Hi, Noah. Hi, Liam. How do you know which is which?" Noah asked, curious despite his shyness. "Lucky guess?" Ethan smiled. "Your mom told me you like to ask questions, and Liam likes chocolate chip pancakes." "I like questions and pancakes," Noah corrected seriously. "Me too," Liam added, not to be outdone. "Good to know." Ethan stayed crouched, patient. "I like pancakes too, and questions, and I really wanted to meet you both." "Why?" Noah asked. "Because I'm your dad," Ethan said simply, "and dads want to know their kids." The boys processed this. Maya held her breath. "Okay," Noah said finally. "Did you bring toys?" Ethan laughed, and the sound was so genuine, so full of relief, that Maya felt her chest tighten. "I did, but your mom said after breakfast." "That's the rule," Liam confirmed. "Breakfast first, except on birthdays." "Good rule." Ethan stood slowly. "Can I help with breakfast?" Maya was about to say no, this was her kitchen, her routine, but then she saw the hope in his expression and changed her mind. "You can flip pancakes," she said, "if you remember how." Something passed between them, a memory, Ethan in her old apartment flipping pancakes terribly, making her laugh until she cried. He'd burned half of them, and the smoke alarm had gone off twice. "I've been practicing," he said quietly. They moved into the kitchen together. The boys climbed back onto their chairs, watching with open curiosity as this new person moved around their space. Ethan was careful, Maya noticed. He asked before touching anything. He followed her lead. He didn't try to take over or change their routine. The pancakes turned out pretty well, only slightly burned on one side. The boys didn't seem to mind. They drowned them in syrup and chocolate chips and talked over each other, telling Ethan about school and their favorite games and the lizard they'd seen in the courtyard yesterday. Ethan listened to everything, really listened. He asked follow-up questions. He laughed at their jokes. When Noah accidentally knocked over his juice, Ethan grabbed a towel before Maya could, cleaning it up like it was no big deal. "It happens," he said to Noah, who looked ready to cry. "Don't worry about it, buddy." Buddy was apparently the right word. Noah relaxed, and just like that they were back to chattering. Maya sat back, watching. She'd imagined this moment 1,000 times over the past 5 years, what it would be like if Ethan ever met their sons. In her imagination it had always been awkward and painful. The boys would be scared, Ethan would be stiff and uncomfortable. It would confirm that she'd been right to raise them alone. This wasn't like that at all. The boys took to him naturally, the way children do when they sense someone genuinely cares. And Ethan, he was different than she remembered. More patient, more humble. The arrogance she'd sometimes glimpsed in their college days was gone, replaced by something softer. After breakfast, they moved to the living room. Ethan presented the gifts. The boys tore into them with enthusiasm, immediately fighting over who got which stuffed animal. After a brief negotiation, overseen by Maya, Noah claimed the lion and Liam took the bear. "What do you say?" Maya prompted. "Thank you," they chorused, already absorbed in making the animals fight. Ethan sat on the floor with them, not on the couch like most adults would. He helped them with the puzzle, letting them figure things out, but offering gentle guidance when they got frustrated. Maya watched from the couch, her coffee growing cold in her hands. This was surreal. 6 days ago, she'd been living her normal life, just her and the boys against the world. Now here was Ethan Cole, sitting on her living room floor, helping their sons build a puzzle, looking more at home than she'd ever seen him. "Mama," Noah called. "Come help." She joined them on the floor. The 4 of them worked on the puzzle together, arms bumping, fingers tangling as they reached for pieces. It was crowded and chaotic and perfect. Liam yawned, leaning against Maya's side. It was almost nap time. The boys still needed an hour of quiet time in the afternoon, even if they didn't always sleep. "Someone's tired," Maya said, brushing his hair back. "Not tired," Liam protested, even as his eyes drooped. "How about we take a break?" Ethan suggested. "I should probably get going anyway." "No!" Noah's protest was immediate. "We didn't finish the puzzle." "I can come back another time," Ethan said. "If that's okay with your mom." 3 sets of eyes turned to Maya. She saw the pleading in her sons' faces, the careful hope in Ethan's. "Tomorrow," she heard herself say. "We usually go to the park on Sunday afternoons." "I'd love that," Ethan said. They walked him to the door. The boys hugged his legs, a spontaneous gesture that made Ethan freeze, his eyes suddenly shiny. He hugged them back carefully like they were made of glass. "See you tomorrow, Noah. See you tomorrow, Liam." "Bye, Daddy," Liam said casually, already turning back to his toys. The word hung in the air. Maya saw Ethan's face crumble and rebuild itself in the span of a heartbeat. "Bye, buddy," he managed. Noah followed his brother, leaving Maya and Ethan alone in the doorway. "That was—" Ethan's voice broke. He cleared his throat. "Thank you. For this? For letting me? Thank you. You did good," Maya said quietly. "They liked you. I liked them too. So much." He looked at her, and she saw tears in his eyes. "They're incredible, Maya. You did an incredible job. We'll see how you feel after a tantrum or two. I want to see that too, the hard parts, all of it." He stepped into the hallway. "Tomorrow at the park? Piedmont Park, 2 o'clock. I'll be there." She closed the door and leaned against it, her heart pounding. Through the wood she heard Ethan's footsteps fade down the hallway. Then silence. "Mama!" Noah called. "Liam's not sharing." "Coming!" Maya pushed off the door and headed toward the inevitable dispute. But as she mediated between her sons, she couldn't stop thinking about the expression on Ethan's face when Liam called him Daddy, like he'd been given something precious he didn't deserve, but would protect with his life. Maybe this would work. Maybe they could actually do this. Co-parent, build something stable for the boys. Move forward, maybe. Sunday afternoon was perfect. Blue sky, gentle breeze, warm sunshine. Piedmont Park was crowded with families, joggers, people walking dogs. Maya spread a blanket under a large oak tree, while the boys ran circles around her, burning off energy. Ethan arrived right at 2, carrying a small cooler. "I brought snacks," he said, looking uncertain. "Juice boxes and fruit, and some cookies, but I wasn't sure if that was okay." "It's fine," Maya interrupted, amused despite herself. "You don't have to bring something every time you see them, you know." "I know. I want to help. Contribute." The boys spotted him and came running. "Daddy, push us on the swings." It was the first time Noah had used the word. Maya watched Ethan's face light up. "Lead the way," he said. They spent the next hour at the playground. Ethan pushed them on the swings until his arms must have been aching. He helped them across the monkey bars. He ran after them when they wanted to play tag, letting them win but making it look like a challenge. Maya sat on the blanket, watching. Other parents glanced over, curious. She saw a few people doing double takes, recognizing Ethan from the society pages probably. A wealthy real estate developer playing at the public playground with 2 mixed-race boys was apparently noteworthy. Let them look. She didn't care. After the playground, they had the snacks Ethan brought. The boys demolished the cookies and most of the fruit. Then Liam discovered a stick he deemed perfect and insisted on showing everyone the right way to sword fight. "Like this," he demonstrated, waving the stick wildly. "You have to make the sound." "What sound?" Ethan asked, playing along. "The swoosh sound," Liam demonstrated. "Swoosh!" Soon they were all making swoosh sounds, brandishing invisible swords, engaged in an epic battle against imaginary dragons. Maya found herself laughing, actually laughing, for the first time in days. When the boys ran off to climb a nearby tree, low branches safe, she'd checked, Ethan collapsed on the blanket beside her. "They have so much energy," he said, slightly breathless. "Welcome to parenting." Maya handed him a juice box. "Wait until you see them at bedtime. They get a second wind around 8 that defies all logic. I'd like to see that sometime." She looked at him. "What?" "Bedtime. The whole routine. Reading stories, tucking them in." He was quiet for a moment. "I missed so much, Maya. I know I can't get those years back, but I don't want to miss anything else." Her throat tightened. "Ethan, I'm not trying to push," he said quickly. "I know we're taking this slow. I want you to know I'm serious about this, about them. I can see that." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the boys climb and laugh and be utterly, joyfully themselves. Maya felt something shift inside her chest, something she'd kept locked tight for 5 years. Maybe it wasn't just the boys who needed this. "They ask about you sometimes," she said quietly. "Even before they knew who you were. They'd see their friends' dads and wonder why they didn't have one. I'd tell them they did, but he didn't know about them yet, that he'd come when it was the right time." Ethan turned to look at her. "And you believe that?" "I wanted to." She picked at the edge of the blanket. "I didn't want them to think they weren't wanted. That even if I believed you'd abandoned us, I would never have abandoned you, any of you." His voice was fierce. "If I'd known, Maya, I would have been there. For every doctor's appointment, every sleepless night, every first word and first step, I would have been there." She believed him. That was the strange part. Despite everything, despite the years of hurt and anger, she believed him. "I know," she said softly. His hand moved toward hers on the blanket, then stopped, hovering in the space between them. A question. Maya didn't pull away, but she didn't close the distance either. After a moment, Ethan withdrew his hand. "Sorry. Don't be. We need to be careful, for their sake." "I know." The boys came running back, demanding more juice and launching into a complicated story about the dragons they'd defeated in the tree. The moment passed. But Maya felt its echo, a tiny crack in the wall she'd built around her heart. They stayed at the park until the sun started sinking lower, painting everything golden. On the walk back to the car, the boys each held one of Ethan's hands, swinging between them, laughing. Maya walked beside them, her phone ready to capture the moment in a photo, but deciding against it. Some things didn't need to be documented. Some things just needed to be felt. At the car, the boys hugged Ethan goodbye. This time he was ready for it. He hugged them back without hesitation. "Same time next week?" he asked Maya. She found herself nodding. "Yeah, same time." As they drove away, she saw Ethan in the rearview mirror, standing in the parking lot, watching them go. He looked lost and found at the same time. "I like Daddy," Liam announced from the back seat. "Me too," Noah agreed. "He's good at swinging." "Yeah," Maya said quietly, her eyes still on the rearview mirror. "Yeah, he is." That night, after the boys were asleep, Maya sat on her couch with a glass of wine and her phone. She scrolled through photos from earlier in the day, the boys on the swings, everyone making swoosh sounds with their invisible swords, the four of them around the blanket with the remains of their snack. They looked like a family. The thought terrified her, but it also felt right in a way nothing had felt right for a very long time. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "Thank you for today. Being with them, with all of you, was the best day I've had in 6 years." Maya stared at the message. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Finally she typed, "They had fun too. See you next week." It wasn't everything she could have said. It wasn't even close, but it was honest. And right now honesty was all she had to give. She finished her wine and went to bed, dreaming of sunshine and laughter, and 2 little boys calling someone Daddy for the first time in their lives. The next 2 weeks fell into a rhythm. Ethan came over twice during the week after work, staying for dinner and homework help. On Saturdays, he took the boys to breakfast while Maya had a few precious hours to herself, time she used for laundry and grocery shopping and trying not to think about how natural it felt to have Ethan back in her life. On Sundays, they all went somewhere together. The zoo, the aquarium, the science museum. The boys were thriving. They talked about Daddy constantly. They drew pictures for him. They saved jokes to tell him. Maya watched her sons bloom under Ethan's attention, and her heart ached with both joy and grief. Joy that they finally had this. Grief that it had taken so long. But it was working. They were making it work. Until Tuesday morning, when Maya's phone started buzzing at 7 a.m., she was making breakfast, the boys still in their pajamas, when the first call came. Unknown number. She ignored it. Then her co-worker Jasmine called. "Maya, have you seen the news?" "What?" "No, I'm making oatmeal. What's going on?" "Check your phone. Check online. Just check, okay?" Maya's stomach dropped. She pulled up her browser and typed in Ethan's name. The first headline made her blood run cold. Millionaire developer's secret family exposed. There was a photo, grainy but unmistakable, of her and Ethan at the park on Sunday. The boys were visible, their faces clear. Another photo showed Ethan leaving her apartment building. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." "Mama?" Noah appeared at her elbow. "What's wrong?" She closed the browser quickly, forcing a smile. "Nothing, baby. Go watch cartoons for a minute, okay? Both of you." The boys scampered off. Maya's phone rang again. This time it was her boss. "Maya, I need you to come in early if you can. We're getting calls from reporters asking about you. They know you work here." "I'm so sorry, David. I never meant for this to—" "It's fine. Just get here when you can. We'll figure this out." After she hung up, Maya stood in her kitchen shaking. This was her worst nightmare. She'd worked so hard to build a quiet, stable life for her sons. She didn't want them in the spotlight, didn't want strangers speculating about their family, didn't want their private lives dissected for entertainment. Her phone buzzed. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. I'm handling it. Please don't worry." "Don't worry." How could she not worry? She called her mother, who agreed to come over immediately to watch the boys. Then she got them dressed for school, moving on autopilot, her mind racing. When Carla arrived, she took one look at Maya's face and pulled her into a hug. "It's going to be okay," she said firmly. "How?" Maya's voice cracked. They published photos of my children, Mama. Photos. Without permission. What if people at their school? Then we'll deal with it. You're strong, baby girl. You've handled worse than gossip. Had she, though? This felt different, more invasive, more public. Maya dropped the boys at school, ignoring the looks from other parents who'd clearly already seen the news. She made it to work by 9 and was immediately pulled into David's office. The board wants a statement, he said. He looked exhausted. They're concerned about the publicity. Family Services has a reputation to maintain and— Are you firing me? Maya interrupted. What? No. God, no. David shook his head. You're one of our best social workers, Maya. But I need to know, is this going to be an ongoing circus? Are there more photos coming, more stories? I don't know. Maya sank into a chair. I didn't ask for any of this. I just wanted my sons to know their father. I understand. But perception matters here. Our clients need to trust us. If they think— He stopped himself. Look, take a few days off, let this blow over. We'll issue a statement saying your personal life is private and has no bearing on your professional work. I don't need time off. I need to work. I need normal. David studied her. Okay, but if it gets worse, if reporters show up here, I'll handle it, Maya promised. She made it through the day by sheer force of will, ignoring her phone's constant buzzing. When she picked up the boys from school, the principal stopped her in the hallway. Mrs. Brooks, we had a reporter trying to get into the building earlier. Campus security escorted her out, but I wanted you to be aware. Maya's heart stopped. A reporter tried to get into the school? She claimed to be a parent volunteer. We verified that wasn't true. The principal's expression was kind, but firm. I've instructed all staff that no one is to speak to press about your family. And we've increased security. But if this continues, we may need to discuss alternative arrangements for pickup. Alternative arrangements. Like Maya was the problem. Like her trying to build a relationship with her son's father was somehow wrong. Thank you, she managed. I appreciate you protecting the boys. That evening, after the boys were in bed, Maya sat at her kitchen table with her laptop and made herself read the articles. They were all variations on the same theme. Wealthy Ethan Cole, recently engaged to socialite Grace Langford, had a secret family. A black social worker and twin boys he'd never publicly acknowledged. Some articles were sympathetic, others were cruel. A few speculated about whether Maya had trapped him, whether she was after his money. One particularly vicious gossip site called her a baby mama looking for a payday. Maya closed the laptop before she threw it across the room. Her phone rang. Ethan, for the 10th time that day. This time she answered. Maya, thank God, are you okay? Am I okay? Her voice came out sharper than she intended. Ethan, there were reporters at my son's school. My boss had to issue a statement about me. People are writing articles calling me a gold digger. I know, I've seen them. My lawyers are working on getting the photos taken down. Your lawyers can't fix this. Maya stood, pacing her small kitchen. This is my life, Ethan. My son's lives. We didn't sign up for this kind of attention. Neither did I. He sounded frustrated. Someone must have been following us. Probably hired by Grace or her family. They're angry about the broken engagement. I don't care who did it. I care that it happened. She stopped pacing. My boys asked me today why there were extra security guards at school. I had to lie to them, tell them it was a normal safety drill. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Maya's voice broke. I worked so hard to give them a normal life, a safe life, and now their faces are on gossip websites. Do you know what that means? Do you understand? Then let me fix it, Ethan said. I'm doing a press conference tomorrow. I'm going to set the record straight. A press conference, Ethan, that's going to make it worse. It won't. I promise. I'm going to tell the truth. That we were together years ago, that circumstances kept us apart, and that I'm committed to being a father to my sons. No speculation, no drama, just facts. Maya wanted to believe him, but she'd seen how these things worked. The more you fed the media beast, the hungrier it got. I need to think about this, she said. Maya, I need to think. She took a breath. The boys keep asking when you're coming over again. I don't know what to tell them. Tell them soon. Tell them I love them. Tell them. His voice caught. Tell them, I'm sorry their dad brought this mess into their lives. After they hung up, Maya sat in the dark for a long time. Part of her wanted to pack up the boys and disappear again, change their names, start over somewhere far from Atlanta, far from Ethan Cole and his complicated public life. But she couldn't do that, wouldn't do that. The boys deserved to know their father, and despite everything, Ethan was trying. He was showing up, learning, loving them as best he could. She just wasn't sure it was enough. The next morning, Maya kept the boys home from school. She couldn't face the stares, the whispers, the way other parents would look at her with either pity or judgment. Instead, they had a pajama day, movies and popcorn and building elaborate block towers. At 2 o'clock, her phone buzzed with a notification. Ethan's press conference was starting. Maya turned on the news, keeping the volume low so the boys wouldn't hear from their bedroom, where they were supposedly napping. Ethan stood at a podium, looking tired but determined. Behind him was a plain blue backdrop. No company logos, no lawyers flanking him, just him. "Thank you for coming," he began. "I'm not going to take questions. I'm just going to tell you the truth, and then I'm going to ask you to respect the privacy of 2 innocent children who didn't ask for any of this attention." He took a breath. 6 years ago, I was in a relationship with Maya Brooks. We were young and in love, and like many young relationships, ours ended badly. There were misunderstandings and miscommunications, and we lost touch. His jaw tightened. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that Maya was pregnant with my children. She tried to reach me, but those messages never got through. By the time I realized what had happened, she'd moved on with her life. Maya's throat tightened. She watched him on screen, remembering that boy she'd loved. 2 weeks ago, we ran into each other by chance, Ethan continued. I met my sons for the first time. Noah and Liam are 5 years old. They're smart and funny and kind. They're everything I didn't know I was missing. His voice grew stronger. Maya Brooks is an incredible mother. She raised our sons alone, working full-time as a social worker, giving them a stable and loving home. She didn't ask me for anything, didn't demand anything. She just wanted what was best for our boys. I have nothing but respect and admiration for her. He looked directly into the camera. The photos you've seen of us at the park, at her apartment, those are photos of a father trying to build a relationship with his sons. That's it. There's no scandal here, no secret agenda, just a family trying to figure things out. He paused. And if you have any decency at all, you'll let us do that in peace. The conference ended. Ethan walked away from the podium without taking questions, despite reporters shouting after him. Maya sat frozen on her couch. Her phone immediately started buzzing, texts from friends, from co-workers, from her mother, but she ignored them all. 20 minutes later, there was a knock at her door. She looked through the peephole. Ethan. Maya opened the door. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. "Hi," he said. "You called me incredible on national television. I called you what you are." He stepped closer. "Maya, I meant every word. You are incredible. What you've done, raising them alone, building this life, I'm in awe of you." Tears burned her eyes. "Ethan, I know this is hard. I know I brought complications into your life that you didn't need, but I'm not going anywhere." His voice was fierce. "I don't care about the press or the gossip or what anyone thinks. I care about those boys, and I care about you. You can't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because we're supposed to be doing this for them, not for us." "Can't it be both?" Ethan asked quietly. Maya's heart pounded. She wanted to say yes, wanted to let herself hope that maybe, somehow, they could have this. Both of them, together, a real family. But hope was dangerous. Hope led to heartbreak. "I don't know," she whispered. Before Ethan could respond, 2 small bodies came barreling down the hallway. "Daddy!" The boys launched themselves at Ethan, who caught them both, holding them tight. "Hey, buddies, I missed you." "We're having a pajama day," Liam announced. "Mama said we could stay home because of the security guards," Noah added. Ethan met Maya's eyes over their heads. The guilt in his expression was clear. "How about I stay for a bit?" he said. "We could watch a movie together." The boys cheered. Maya wanted to say no, wanted to maintain boundaries, wanted to protect herself. But looking at her son's joy, at Ethan's hopeful expression, she couldn't do it. "Okay," she said. One movie. One movie turned into 2, then building a blanket fort, then making grilled cheese sandwiches for dinner. By the time Ethan left at 8 o'clock, the boys were exhausted and happy, and Maya felt something she hadn't felt in days. Normal. This felt normal. At the door, after the boys had said goodnight, Ethan paused. "The press will move on," he said. "Something else will catch their attention, and will just be old news, I promise." "How can you be sure?" "Because I'm boring now. No scandals, no drama, just a dad trying to be there for his kids." He smiled slightly. "That's not interesting enough to hold their attention for long." Maya hoped he was right. "Thank you," she said, "for what you said today, in the press conference. I meant it, all of it." He left before she could respond, and Maya closed the door, leaning against it. She heard his footsteps fade down the hallway, then silence. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Saw the press conference. "That man loves you, baby girl. Don't be too scared to see it." Maya stared at the message for a long time before turning off her phone and heading to bed. Her mother was right as usual. The press moved on. Within a week, some celebrity couple's divorce dominated the gossip sites, and Maya's family faded from the headlines. The reporters stopped calling. The extra security at school was lifted. Life slowly returned to normal. Except it wasn't normal anymore, it was better. Ethan came over almost every day now, sometimes just for an hour after work, sometimes for whole evenings. He learned the boys' routines, their likes and dislikes, their moods. He was there for meltdowns and bedtime negotiations and the chaos of dinner preparation. He was there. One Saturday evening, 3 weeks after the press conference, Ethan stayed late. They'd spent the day at a children's museum, and the boys were wired from all the excitement. After lengthy bedtime battles, they'd finally crashed, sprawled across their beds in positions that looked deeply uncomfortable. Maya and Ethan stood in the doorway of the boys' room, watching them sleep. "They're out cold," Ethan whispered. "Give it 20 minutes. One of them will wake up needing water." He smiled. "You know them so well. 5 years of practice." They moved to the living room. Maya expected Ethan to say goodnight and leave. It was getting late and he had an early meeting tomorrow. Instead, he sat on the couch, looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "What?" she asked, sitting beside him. "Can I ask you something?" "Okay. What happened to us?" Ethan's voice was quiet. I know the logistics. I know Jennifer interfered and we lost touch. But before that, we were so good together. What went wrong?" Maya was quiet for a moment, thinking back to those last weeks before everything fell apart. "Your parents," she said finally. "They made it clear I wasn't good enough for you. Wrong background, wrong education, wrong color." "I never cared about that. But they did. And you never stood up to them, not really." She looked at him. "Every time they criticized me or made some passive-aggressive comment, you just changed the subject. Like if you ignored it, it would go away." Ethan's jaw tightened. "You're right, I was a coward. You were 24, we both were young and stupid." "I'm not young anymore," he said, "and I'd like to think I'm less stupid." "What does that mean?" He turned to face her fully. "It means I told my father last week that if he wanted to be part of his grandsons' lives, he needed to treat you with respect, that you weren't up for debate or criticism, that you were the mother of his grandchildren and an incredible woman, and if he couldn't see that, it was his loss." Maya's breath caught. "What did he say?" "He said I was throwing away my reputation for a woman who trapped me with children." "Ethan!" "So I told him he wasn't welcome in our lives until he could apologize to you." Ethan's voice was firm. "I won't make the same mistakes, Maya. I won't let anyone, not my parents, not Grace, not anyone, disrespect you or make you feel less than what you are." Tears stung Maya's eyes. That must have been hard. It was necessary. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his hand covered hers. "I'm not that scared 24-year-old anymore. I know what matters now." "What matters?" "You, the boys, family." His thumb traced circles on her hand. "This, right here, this matters." Maya's heart pounded. She should pull her hand away, should maintain the boundaries she'd set. But his touch felt right in a way nothing had felt right for 6 years. "Ethan," she whispered, "we can't." "Can't what?" "Can't go back. Can't pretend the last 6 years didn't happen. Can't just—" "We have to think about Noah and Liam. I am thinking about them." He leaned closer. "They need stable, happy parents. And I hope, we could be that, together. You're talking about us getting back together. I'm talking about trying, slowly, carefully, the way we've been doing everything else." His eyes searched hers. "I never stopped loving you, Maya, even when I thought I'd lost you forever, even when I tried to move on. You were always there." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I never stopped loving you either, but love isn't always enough. It's a start, though." His free hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing away the tear. "Can we start? Please?" Maya knew she should say no, should be practical and cautious, should protect her heart and her sons from potential disappointment, but looking into Ethan's eyes, seeing the man he'd become, remembering the boy she'd loved, she couldn't say no. "Okay," she whispered, "we can try." He kissed her then, soft and gentle and full of promise. It felt like coming home after a long journey, like finding something precious she'd thought was lost forever. When they broke apart, both of them were crying. "I won't let you down," Ethan said. I won't let any of you down, I promise. You better not, Maya said, trying to smile through her tears, because I'm trusting you with the most important things in my life. I know. He pulled her close, and she let herself relax into his embrace. I won't waste this second chance. I won't waste you. They sat together on the couch, holding each other, until the sky outside started to lighten with dawn. At some point, they both fell asleep, wrapped in each other's arms. When Maya woke, early morning light was streaming through the windows. Ethan was still beside her, one arm around her shoulders, his breathing deep and even. She felt peaceful for the first time in years. Then she heard small footsteps. "Mama?" Noah's voice was uncertain. "Why is Daddy sleeping on the couch?" Maya and Ethan both jerked awake. The boys stood in the doorway, pajama-clad and confused. Maya started. "We fell asleep watching TV." Ethan finished smoothly. He stretched and stood. "Who wants pancakes?" "Me," both boys shouted. Crisis averted. They moved to the kitchen, and Maya watched Ethan help the boys onto their chairs, talking to them about their dreams from last night. He caught her eye and smiled, a smile full of joy and promise and the beginning of something new. Or maybe not new. Maybe this was just continuing what they'd started 6 years ago. Finally given the chance to grow into what it was always meant to be. Love didn't need to start over, Maya realized. It just needed to continue. And they would continue. Through the hard days and the easy ones. Through tantrums and teenage years and whatever else life threw at them. They would continue together. As a family. Finally. 1 year later. The elementary school auditorium was packed. Maya sat in the third row, Ethan on one side and her mother on the other. Ethan's hand was warm in hers, his thumb tracing absent patterns on her palm. "Are they nervous?" Carla whispered. "Liam is. Noah's excited." Maya smiled. They've been practicing their lines for weeks. On stage, the curtain rose. The kindergarten class was performing a play about community helpers. Noah was a firefighter. Liam was a doctor. They'd argued for hours about who got which costume. The play began. Maya watched her sons. Their confidence, their joy, the way they worked together with their classmates. 6-year-olds figuring out the world, secure in the knowledge that they were loved. When Noah delivered his line and forgot to pause for the response, Liam whispered the cue loud enough for the whole audience to hear. Everyone laughed. The boys beamed. After the play ended and the class took their bows, the teacher made an announcement. "We want to thank all the families for coming today. It's wonderful to see so many parents supporting our students," she smiled. "Before we close, I need to recognize one special family. The Cole family has generously donated new art supplies for our entire grade. Noah and Liam, your parents are pretty amazing." The audience applauded. Maya felt her face heat. Beside her, Ethan squeezed her hand. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered. "I wanted to," he whispered back. "They love this school, and you love working here." Maya had started volunteering in the classroom 2 months ago, reading to kids and helping with art projects. It felt good, using her free time to be present in her son's world. After the play, they gathered in the hallway. The boys ran to them, still in costume. "Did you see me?" Noah demanded. "Did I remember all my lines?" Liam asked at the same time. "You were both perfect," Ethan said, crouching to their level. "I'm so proud of you guys." "Can we get ice cream?" Noah asked hopefully. "It's tradition," Liam added. They'd clearly coordinated this request. Maya laughed. "Fine. Ice cream for the performers." As they walked to the car, the boys running ahead, Ethan pulled Maya close. "Happy?" he asked. She looked at her sons, at her mother chatting with other grandparents at the school where her boys were thriving. She looked at Ethan, at the man who'd come back into her life and stayed, who'd proven over and over that he meant every promise he made. "Yeah," she said, "I'm happy." And she was. Not because everything was perfect, it wasn't. They still struggled sometimes, still had disagreements about parenting and money and how much time Ethan's work should take, still had moments when the past rose up and made them both wary, but they worked through it, together. "I love you," Ethan said quietly. "I love you too." It had taken them 6 years, 2 beautiful boys, and a chance encounter in a courthouse to find their way back to each other. But they'd made it. They were a family, imperfect and complicated and real, and that was more than enough. That was everything. The end.